Hi there, this is Tim Irwin with another Moser Minute. Today we're going to talk about proper brake application as far as drag racing brake goes, when you need to switch to a good drag brake, and the different choices that you have here at Moser Engineering. Here at Moser we have several different types of brakes. We offer a drum brake package, actually a couple drum brake packages. We also offer an economy disc brake package that can be used for the local weekend bracket racer. The rotor itself is made out of cast iron. Unfortunately, in extreme braking applications, cast iron tends to fracture. At some point, you'll want to switch to a steel rotor. Semi-professional sportsman racers and guys that race weekly benefit from running a steel rotor. When you want to switch to a steel rotor is the point that you decide that you're going to go from like a every other weekend racer to a you want to chase points or race weekly, do some of the bigger stuff. You'll benefit from increased weight savings and the fact that the brakes are a little bit more serviceable when you use a steel rotor. We have a couple different pad choices here. First pad is a HP Plus pad, which is good to about 175 miles an hour for non-aggressive braking, a guy that just does normal stopping at the racing. Our second choice is our black pad. It's better suited for a higher mile an hour car, 180, 190, still not real aggressive braking. Third choice is our DTC pad and a stainless rotor package. You can't warp them. They're the best brakes on the market in our opinion today. A lot of people ask why we feel that the Moser Engineering brake is a better brake than what's on the market today. Our thoughts are the fact that it's a dynamic mounted rotor that can float internally and eliminate some of the excessive warping that you can see in some of the other brake kits today. One thing I'd like to mention about dynamic mounting is actually what it means. People have asked me several times, what do you mean by dynamic mounting? Dynamic mounting means that the rotor itself is not solidly attached to the hat assembly. The way ours works is that the rotor's keyed into the hat, and then a snap ring holds the rotor in place. This actually makes it a lot easier to service your brakes when you're out in the field. The one thing I'd like to clear up quickly today is that the misconception and the need for dual calipers over single calipers. What a lot of guys want to do nowadays is they want to buy our dual caliper bracket and brake kit and install that with a single master cylinder, typically on a dragster. What this does is cause increased surface area, pad surface area on the rotor, but it does cause decreased fluid pressure. What I mean by that is, if you have a master cylinder with 1,000 psi of output pressure, every time you split the fluid, say as to 2 calipers in the back, you split the fluid pressure. With one set of calipers, you'd have 500 pounds of pressure on each caliper. If you'd use 4 calipers with a single master cylinder, you end up with 250 psi of pressure on each caliper. What this does decreases the clamping force of the caliper itself. The surface area of the pad offers nothing at all other than more pad to wear out. When you do want to use a dual caliper kit, it's because you're using 2 master cylinders in your braking system. One typically for a foot on one set of calipers, and the other one would be for a hand brake for safety purposes or staging purposes, something like that. Something where you could have one master cylinder operating each pair of calipers. One thing I'd like to mention quickly is the fact that for any racer that already runs our brake package with a steel rotor can switch to the stainless package. Basically all they got to do is buy a pair of rotors and a pad. We sell that as a kit. I'd like to touch on brake maintenance a little bit. One thing you want to look for occasionally is check your pads. You want to make sure that your pad material is the same thickness or more than the backer plate on the pad itself. When it gets to the point to where the material is about the same, you'll want to change pads. Upon further inspection, you want to make sure that your rotor is not warped. The way you do that is by putting a straight edge across the back edge of the rotor and make sure that the straight edge touches the rotor evenly all the way across. If it is cupped and or warped, you'll want to replace the rotors along with the pads. One more thing I'd like to mention, upon initial assembly, you want to make sure that the departing line in the middle of your caliper is lined up with the center line of the rotor during initial assembly. You may have to use the shims provided in the kit to get this proper dimension. If this isn't done, it's a possibility that you could prematurely warp the rotors and or wear out the pads. Again, this is Tim Irwin with the Moser Minute. Please feel free to contact us with any other questions that you might have. Thanks. Have a good day.